For the longest time, people wandered the earth, hunting and gathering, without any way of sharing what they knew, aside from just telling someone face to face. You see, writing and reading had not been invented yet. Language was simple, and without a way to store their knowledge or keep track of amount or debts, they were limited to this way of life, short and uncertain.
How long did people have to live like this? Like 100 years?
No, a really long time.
1,000 years?
No. Like over 5 million years.
5 million years? Whoa! Then what happened?
People wanted a better way to sustain themselves, so they developed a written form of communication. Then they could remember and pass the things they knew along to one another, and then others could take that information and add to it too. Do you know what sustain means?
Probably, but could you remind me again?
It means to keep something going. Water and sunlight sustain a tree. Brushing your teeth sustains your bone health. Water and light in nature are plentiful, so trees are sustainable. You can buy a toothbrush and toothpaste nearly anywhere, so having healthy teeth is sustainable. Some things are sustainable naturally, and some things are sustainable because people before us have figured it out already and have made it part of human knowledge. Sometimes we need knowledge to sustain ourselves against nature. And sometimes we need to look to nature to learn how to be sustained.
How did reading and writing start?
The earliest writing that has been found is about 6,000 years ago in Mesopotamia. Simple clay tablets stamped with reeds were used for record keeping. For the next few thousands of years, different forms of writing and reading popped up in many different places around the world. In Egypt, the use of hieroglyphics or picture words allowed them to build enormous pyramids and monuments in tribute of their pharaohs and develop things like the calendar, irrigation, and paper. In Greece, they developed democracy, architecture, astronomy, geometry, and medicine. In China, they developed metallurgy, gunpowder, and paper money. There, about 1,000 years ago, the world's first known movable type system for printing was invented by Bai Sheng.
Was that how the book was invented?
Books around then often looked more like scrolls, and the only way to create them was to write each word by hand. Books were a rarity to common people, and the majority of people, despite having a written language, were illiterate and had never seen a book.
Whoa!
It took another 500 years. The printing press wasn't made popular until 1500, when Johann Gutenberg combined Eastern movable type, new oil-based printing inks, and the Roman screw press together to make the first modern printing press, one that could be duplicated and shared with the world.
So books have been around for everyone in 500 years? That's really not that long if you think about it.
It sure isn't. We can't tell how important an invention the printing press was, because so much began to change very quickly. Printing presses spread all over the world. Information and knowledge spread and grew, fueled by the mass production of books in many different languages. It changed in its form as well. Pamphlets, newspapers, flyers, and other ways of written communication came out as well. Not just information, but news was suddenly available. People were now able to make much smarter decisions about the way they lived.
So reading is what sustains us?
Yes, reading is what sustains our way of life. Talking with one another is a way to communicate with others near us. But when we read and write, we can pass on our knowledge to others, and then we can all benefit our schools, our country, the whole world.
Wow, the whole world?
Maybe not the whole world. There are tribes that exist today that have no written language because they live very simply and too remotely for written language to reach them. But most of the world has grown and changed a lot since the printing press was invented. The Renaissance saw a rebirth of art, music, literature, as well as the invention of many new devices and methods. The Age of Enlightenment led to a more reason-based way of thinking about our world, and making decisions based on logic and science helped our knowledge to grow even more. A new understanding of science and physics led to the Industrial Revolution. This transformative time led to mass-produced machines, the growth of great cities, and new and faster ways to travel to and communicate with other places.
Gee, I never thought of that old stuff as being new.
You may not realize how much really is new. Only in the past 25 years has the internet begun to connect the people of the planet. The way that people now share information has taken another huge shift. We now have huge amounts of information available to us at the tips of our fingertips. On our phones, our computers, our tablets, and TVs. Wireless technology and satellite-fed signals fill the air with information and news that we are now able to access almost anywhere. World economies are now connected in inseparable ways. Many of us wonder if all of our knowledge and reason will be enough to sustain us forever, if we will use our new knowledge impulsively and recklessly and without regard to the consequence of our actions, or if we will use the things that we discover and learn and invent to one day reach beyond our own potential, beyond our own solar system.
I like to read books on my tablet and play games on my computer. Does that make the world more sustainable?
If it makes you enjoy reading and solving problems, then it is helping you to think, and good thinkers will always be necessary to sustain us.
Really, would you tell that to my mom?
Haha, sure.